The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew.
Glory to you, O Lord.
When he saw the crowds, he went up this mountain. And after he sat down, his disciples came to him. He began to teach them, saying, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the land. Blessed are they who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be satisfied. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the clean of heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Blessed are they who are persecuted for the sake of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when they insult you and persecute you, and utter every kind of evil against you because of me. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward will be great in heaven. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Aren't those beautiful words?
Oh, yeah.
Jesus teaches us. What I find is so many people would say, oh, aren't those nice, those are beautiful words that Jesus, says. And people even choose these readings sometimes for funerals. Because people like the words that they hear. But the fact of the matter is, while we may say, isn't that nice? Aren't those beautiful words that come forth from the mouth of Jesus? We don't really believe this stuff. We really don't. We want to, but we don't. They sound nice, spiritually they're beautiful, but we don't want to live our lives by these words. Just to give you an example of not listening to the words of Jesus. Even though we hear them year after year for many, many years, they don't sink in and take hold of our minds and our hearts. Something happened at my last parish many years ago. And there was a parishioner who had paid for a mass intention right after the death of Osama bin Laden. And he came in to the church and he sat down with the secretary. He paid for mass intention, and as I was walking by, I heard him say what the intention was, and the secretary looked up at me and she went, "Can we do this?" And I stopped. And you know how a moment seems like an eternity? 1,000 thoughts going through my mind, and so I said, "Yes, of course." I said, "Take the intention." I said, because it doesn't matter how we feel about the person. Jesus commands us to love neighbor, right? And to pray for those who persecute you. I said, so Holy Mother Church's responsibility is always to pray for her children. I said, and we may not like the guy. Some may be glad that he's gone from this world. But nevertheless, we must pray for him because that's the commandment of Jesus. I said, take the intention. I kept walking. The very next week, people were going through the bulletin before Mass. I could see daggers pointing at right directed at me at the 4:30 Mass. And somebody made a comment to me. And so as I began Mass, I began the homily at that Saturday vigil, I could see people like this, talking to each other. And I said, I can see people are angry about the Mass intention for next week, because obviously it was a week ahead. And they said, yes. And in front of hundreds of people, I said, you want me to preach on the gospel today, or do you want me to address this matter? They said, we want you to talk about this matter. Fine. So I let them have it with both barrels. And I said, how many times have you heard the words of Jesus? Love your enemies. Pray for those who persecute you. What is a Mass intention but praying for those who are persecuting us, right? We're praying for people, but especially somebody who persecuted us. So it doesn't matter how you feel about this guy. That's not the point. You may not like him, but you have to love him. And that's a commandment of Jesus. And you may be mad at me, but you're not really mad at me. You're mad at Jesus. So put your anger where it is and go tell him how angry you are. And then I want to hear what he has to say back to you. I said, so we are doing the Mass next week, whether you like it or not. That week was one of the longest weeks of my life. I had death threats from around, not just the country, around the world. People were emailing and leaving phone messages, and you're a terrible priest, and how dare you, you're ruining the church. And people were saying, I'm going to kill you, and it was horrible. The media was in my face. They came to the church with cameras ready to start before Mass outside. I said, you're not allowed in the church. And that day, the man who paid for the intention, right before Mass began, said, Father, I'd like to change my Mass intention. I said, why? He said, I want it to be for world peace. I said, that's fine. I said, but what made you change your mind? He said, if it were just me, I wouldn't care. He goes, they could kill me if they want. I said, I feel the same way. In fact, my bishop even called me and said, Gavin, please change the Mass intention. I said, Bishop, our church is founded on the blood of the martyrs, people who died for the faith. I said, I'm sorry, but I am not changing this. I said, if they want to shoot me down while I'm saying Mass, they will shoot me. I said, besides, there's no better way to go to heaven than to become a martyr. So I'm not changing this. So the man said to me before Mass, he said, they have threatened the life of my family. He said, I can't make them die for our beliefs. He said, that's their choice, but I can't force it upon them. He said, I would gladly die. He said, so I changed it for world peace. I said, fine. Upon hearing that, the media they dispersed and went home. There was no story there anymore, you know? But we hear the words of Jesus, and they go in one ear and out the other. We say they're beautiful, but they really have no meaning for us in our lives. We don't always live it that way. So for instance, even today, blessed are the poor in spirit. Now there's another translation that says, blessed are the poor. Doesn't matter. To be poor, whether you're poor in physicalness, physical things, or poor in spirit, it's the opposite of being rich. We don't like being poor. Who likes being poor? Raise your hands. You like being poor? No. You want to be rich in all things. You want to have abundance. Blessed are those who mourn. Well, who wants to spend their whole life crying every day, right? No one wants to mourn. We want to be happy all the time. And God knows as Americans, we spend so much money to try to make ourselves happy. Mourning is something that no one wants to go through. We try to avoid as much as we can. We'll take pills to get out of our depression and mourning. Blessed are the meek. Well, who wants to be meek? I want to be strong and powerful. I don't want anyone taking advantage of me, right? And blessed are those who hunger and thirst. Now, it says for righteousness, but nevertheless, to hunger and thirst is something no one wants to go through. We want to be filled. We don't want to have to rely on others. And that's basically what this is all about. When we are these things that Jesus tells us, we are relying on other people. We don't have our needs met. So the person who doesn't have these problems, they're self-sufficient. They don't have to rely on anybody else. And indeed, dare I say, even God. And that's why it is those who suffer, those who are poor, they're the ones who actually have to rely on others and God. At the end of this, it says, blessed are those who are persecuted for the sake of righteousness. And blessed are you when they insult you and persecute you and utter any kind of evil against you. Rejoice and be glad. Your reward is great in heaven. You know, we know that as Catholics, and we heard this just recently, but we've all heard this many, many times throughout our lives. Catholics get stomped upon. People take advantage of us. Other faiths don't have the problem we do, because they are either in your face about it, or they just take control. We let people walk all over us, and we always have, and we all know this. And there are two things we can do. We can either fight back, or we can let people take advantage of us. And here's the thing. Neither choice is good and neither choice is bad. It's depending upon how we act. Now, it's not good to let people walk all over you just to walk all over you. But if we suffer for the sake of righteousness, that's not a bad thing. Jesus says, blessed are you. As long as when we are suffering and letting others take advantage of us, it is for the sake of righteousness, not just to be a doormat. But even then, we can either fight in a righteous way, or we can let people hurt us. God the Father will honor either way, to fight back in a righteousness way, or to let others take advantage of us and perhaps indeed even kill us. Right? We heard the story Ray was telling us about this woman who lost her whole family. They were all killed. But don't we honor those people? I mean, all the people who gave their lives at the beginning of the church and suffered just because they were Christian, don't we give them honor? And now we say they're in heaven, blessed are they. So we honor it in them, but we don't want to do it for ourselves. That's what I'm saying. They're beautiful words, but we don't want to live by them. Let somebody else live by them, and then we'll honor that person. But Jesus let people kill him. He let them take advantage of him to some degree. Of course, he spoke out and said, and pointed his finger and denounced certain people and said, how dare you? He stood up, but yet he also let them kill him. So he did both. Either way is fine, how we react, as long as we always act in love and righteousness. But if we allow people to kill us for the sake of our faith, well then, the Father will really honor us. He'll be even more pleased with that. After all, we are celebrating the exaltation of the cross, upon which Jesus died and was killed for us. So in all things we do, as long as we suffer, let us suffer for the Lord. Because we are told today at this very mountain that because of that, we will be blessed, and the kingdom of heaven will indeed be ours. And that's what it's all about, gaining the heaven. In pilgrimage on this